You have been pushing for electoral reform for a long, long time.
Since I was about 2, I think.
So about 30 years.
Not quite, yeah, for over 30 years. And when, for the first time, I give him his due.
Him being Trudeau.
Mr. Trudeau is the first prime minister to have put it on the agenda in the election, and so far to be following up. And that's encouraging.
Do you think he can get it done, though, by the next election? The promise is to have it ready by 2019.
My brief answer is yes, but it's up to the committee to get its report in by the end of this calendar year. And if they do, then it'll be up to him to implement it, because there will be time after that before the next election.
Now, anybody who's listened to you over the years knows that you're an advocate of proportional representation. There's no surprise. Right. That's what you advocated for today. There are people who argue against that system, though, say that it can lead to unstable governments and, more frequent elections and less actual governing, more politicking, if that's possible. What do you say to those people?
That they're wrong, factually. Just on the more frequent elections, if you look at the frequency of elections in Canada since World War II and compare them with Germany, for example, that has a mixed proportional system, they're roughly about every 3.5 years. And you could take other countries out of Scandinavia, and it's the same thing. So you don't necessarily have more elections if you have a change in the system. If parties learn to work together, which they will.
That's the big if.
No, but that's the evidence, again, is where you have systems of proportionality, parties know they have to work with other parties. Mm-hmm. And they, surprise, surprise, they become more collaborative, and they reach longer-term agreements, and they have stable government. We could, if the Scandinavians can do it, if the Scots can do it, if the Germans can do it, we can do it here.
Now, the system you prefer is what's called the mixed member form of proportional representation, correct? Where people essentially vote twice. You vote for a local member, and then you vote for a party, and so someone is drawn from a list to fill that second seat.
Yeah, it's really straightforward. My description is we have the best of both worlds. We have a proportional system, that is to say, if you vote for the Green Party, you can be sure every vote's going to count in percentage terms to get someone into the House of Commons. So you vote for your party when you cast one ballot locally, and you have a second ballot, and you vote for your local MP. So that I like a lot too. So
how do you hold the list MP accountable if they're sort of not, if they don't have a direct constituency like you do in your riding?
Well, let me put it this way: 80% of the OECD countries have that. And they're quite accountable. I mean, they're broadly accountable in the sense that, here in Canada, when we vote, we normally vote for or against the Prime Minister and his party. Mm-hmm. So when you have a government you like in the list system, you vote for that list. If you don't like them, and you want another change, you vote for a different set of MPs. But the key point is you get both. You get a proportional system for the party you vote for will be weighted in the House of Commons according to its votes across Canada, but you'll also have a local MP that is accountable, say, for local issues.
Do you have to
I think it's terrific.
Do you have to increase the size of the House of Commons to make that work? Do you have to add more members of Parliament, or do you sort of tweak and shrink and expand some of the ridings?
Technically, it might be better to change the number of people in the House to get a mix between regional reps and your local MP. You don't have to do that, but I think there probably should be some modification.
Pretty crammed in there now, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, no, but you could, maybe we take out individual seats like they have in the UK and just have benches, if that were the case. But we can't add a fantastic number of people to the House of Commons. I don't think the people of Canada would want that, but we can add enough to make a proportional system work, so that people will get in the House of Commons the parties that they actually vote for.
Now, when they did this in New Zealand, they did a referendum, and the Conservatives have said that any changes to the voting system here should require a referendum. Where are you on that? You're not in favor of that at all.
No, I'm not. I mean, I've thought about it over the years, and I've come to the conclusion that, as we heard from expert testimony today, in fact, most experts that have appeared before the committee have said constitutionally it's not required. But what is required is the people who are on the committee really do their homework, listen to experts that are coming in, consult with people in their own constituencies, and really deliberate in a consensual way with each other and bring in something that at least a majority of the parties in the House of Commons can support. It'll be designed, and then it will be legitimate. You know, three parties that campaigned in the recent election, the Liberals, the NDP, and the Green, all campaigned already for electoral change. So as long as the government doesn't unilaterally bring in a system that's supported only by itself, but reaches out to other parties to build consensus, I think that will give legitimacy to the whole project.
Could this exacerbate or exaggerate some of the regional differences, though? If you go to the proportional rep system, could you see a resurgence of the Bloc Québécois? Could you see another Western sort of protest party? Is that a risk?
Quite strongly, the opposite argument holds.
You think?
It's yes, the first past the post contributed to the Bloc Québécois. At one point, they had 2/3 of the seats in the Quebec elected out of Quebec, with less than 50% of the vote. So it's the first past the post, the system we now have, that enables these regional strongholds to get established. And by the way, shuts out other parties. I spoke to the committee today about the 1980 election. Mr. Trudeau got a majority in Canada as a whole. Western Canada, he got 2 seats only.
Yeah.
And he had over 20% of the vote. And as a result, we got a national energy program that became imposed on 2 provinces that had nobody in the cabinet. So it's the current system that distorts. It's because the Conservatives did disproportionately well in Western Canada. The Liberals were shut out. But if we had a PR system, all the regions would get people elected in proportion to their support.